we on Raw Report right now. Jynx is going out for usual. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to his mixes each and every week. You know what I'm saying? Like we said before, we're also a mix show. We just don't talk the talk, even though it's raw and we get gritty and grimy. But he gets gritty and grimy on the 1 and 2s as well.
That's right.
Like we said before, we have an email you guys can hit up, rawreportlive@gmail.com, for everybody that thinks like they can contribute to the show and we can help each other and we can go off and talk about the things we need to talk about. But the biggest thing I need to talk about right now
is
these two right now have a birthday, people.
Whoop, whoop.
Shout out to them.
Birthday time.
Jynx Cream Team birthday.
And wait, but even more importantly,
right?
It's Coco. Birthday. The queen is in the building.
Yes. Woo, woo.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We got one more thing to do to finalize these birthday wishes. On the count of 3.
Yep.
1,
2, and 3.
Oh my God, imagine what
Hey.
All right, okay.
Now it's a party, y'all.
Hey, y'all know I went first and it worked for me. I don't know about them, but it worked for me.
I don't know. It's like Coco always breaks the bell, so.
As long as he ain't got none of my drink, then
is
it's all good.
They got it in my drink.
Well, they got it in his drink. As long as it's not in my drink, it's all good.
Oh,
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
You're gonna have to replace your glass.
No more drink for me. But yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, congratulations to both of y'all for another year. Prosperity and more life, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you, thank
you so much.
And you know, you guys gotta enjoy yourselves today, tomorrow, the next day. Because you know, when it's on a weekend, you know.
And the whole year too.
And the whole year. But
you know, all the next year also.
Right.
That's
but you know, when your birthday's on a weekend, you gotta keep going and going and going.
And going.
Yeah. So
this thing keeps falling.
Oh man, Brizz is always fixing everything that goes wrong around here.
Right now.
Oh my
you know
God.
We gotta put this right here.
Right, there we go.
Straight up.
We keep it raw right now, you know what I'm saying? No sugar coating.
It's not very heavy.
It'll
okay.
No sugar coating up in her. You know what I'm saying?
All right, guys. So a great way to start our show today,
right,
is this nifty little box that we have here. This holiday box right here. It's called a question and answer box. All right. None of us know which ones are going to be chosen first, but this is a compilation of our ideas and others and different little topics that we could use.
Yes,
we could talk about, right? So,
yes, sir.
time. You want to do the honors first?
It's my birthday, you know what I'm saying?
I knew you were going to say that.
So you should do the first one.
Okay.
Your birthdays, you know what I mean?
Okay,
right,
okay.
Like right now, right?
Right.
The honors, you know what I'm saying?
Okie doke. Let's start. I'm not going to look. I'm shuffling. Shuffling.
Hustling.
Yeah.
Every day I'm shuffling. Every day I'm shuffling.
Hustling.
Oh, man, this is a big
I'm
one.
about to start dancing.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're going to start this one off with a bang.
All right.
What do you think the worst thing Donald Trump has done for the U.S.? And what do you think the best or one of the best things are that he did for the U.S.?
Well, I can tell you what list is a longer one.
Okay, so Jynx.
You know, hold on. I got to think about that one, though, still. I don't know if one of you guys want to
Primetime.
first.
I think the worst thing is becoming president.
Don't kill me. I'm
like
so
he just became president. That's enough for me.
Oh my God, this horn sucks.
Maybe one of the good things is like because of his awareness of making the economy grow, as like he did the hotel things and sort of things like that. That's it. Like I really ain't got even anything good to say about that guy, realistically. You know what I mean?
All right. So a good thing I would say would be him tackling human trafficking rings, him dealing with that issue. I also was gonna say the helping with the economy,
Push it left.
gaining new jobs for people, but I would say a bad thing would probably be the way that he has dealt with immigrants coming to the country.
True.
Yeah, those are my answers.
That's real bad still.
So for me, I think I would say maybe the best thing or one of the better things he did, he actually did do some like criminal justice or prison reform.
Right.
So I think that is one of the good things he did. Although he just like sent this pushed through like a couple executions the other day.
Yeah,
so
he did.
So he kind of did some prison reform, got some people out. I mean, got all his friends out, and then he did like so. I mean, but some of the prison reform that he did, I guess, was all right. But then counteracting it, he let all his guilty friends free, and you know what I mean. So that's kind of I don't know, you know. So, but one of the worst things, I would say, I don't know. You know what? Oh, one other thing with the economy, he did well for the economy for the rich people and for the stock markets. He did well, but for the average person, the unemployment rate is kind of not great. You know what I mean? So I think in regards to like if you're looking just at the stock markets and that kind of thing, you use that as a way to tell the economy. I think he did all right on that, but for the average person, not great. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
And then the worst, I think. It may, I might say, not just one thing, but the way he's been kind of, the worst thing actually that, you know what it is the judges. The judges. He's put in, not just the three ultra-conservative Supreme Court judges, he's put in over 100 lower court judges, the circuit courts. So, during Obama's time, Mitch McConnell like froze all those spots. So then once Trump came in power, there's all these open judge spots. So he just started appointing more and more conservative judges. So yeah, it's bad Supreme Court, but most cases are going to those lower judges that are conservative already. So you know what I mean?
Okay.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That and just breaking down democracy, like putting in his own people for attorney general and this and that. So therefore, if he does anything bad, there's no yeah, exactly.
Okay. So. That would be a big one right there.
Racist piece of.
So yeah. So we're going to just so you guys know, for this show, I'm gonna pick one, or somebody else is gonna pick. Jynx is gonna pick one out of the box. Yeah. But before we do that, just so you guys know, this show is basically a wrap up of 2020. So we're gonna touch on a lot of different areas of 2020. And like I said before, get on our YouTube page because we're live on there. We're going to be getting out of the IG pages soon. And get at us in the chat. Let us know what topics you want us to touch on. If there's any comments you have for us about the show, any questions that you have for us, let us know in the chat. And the questions that we pull out of the box, by all means, guys, engage with us in the chat and let us know your thoughts, your answers as well. All right. And when you get on the YouTube page, don't forget to hit subscribe and smash the bell. Okay, so we're going to go to Jynx now.
All right.
Shake that up.
Shake it up.
Shake it. You know what I mean? Like a salt shaker, like a Polaroid.
Picture.
Like a big booty that just got 1,000
booty running everywhere.
Got 1,000 views.
All right, let me see what we got right here now.
Better be a good one.
Okay, here's one. It's an interesting one. So the question is, what news stories, like over the year, do you think were underreported on? So what big stories didn't get the coverage that you think they should have? Could be one story or multiple stories.
There's a bunch actually. Where do we start?
Or I guess the biggest ones.
I just said there's a lot. And
that's a brain freeze, Joe. That's a brain freeze. A lot, like there's a lot. But like if you're gonna dissect the stories, man.
It could be international, I guess, or local or national or whatever. Even could be entertainment, could be world issues, could be
I'm even trying to think
humanitarian, could be with COVID, could be without COVID, could be I don't know. Could be something behind the scenes in politics, or
So no, I know there are some people who have lost their lives to violence, not only here where we live, but also in the States that were not reported. They were not plastered all over the news.
Yeah.
And they should have been. The little boy he was he 15 or I forget his age in the States, and that was a lynching. And that wasn't talked about on the news. In fact, the police aren't giving the family much information on that. But I think in general, when it comes to violence in any city, anywhere, especially when it's, anyone really, but especially when it's youth, I feel it should be talked about. It should be broadcasted. I know a lot of people probably don't want to hear about it because, it's just more negativity. But I feel the more that we talk about it, yes, it's uncomfortable, but the more light that's shined on something, the more attention it's given, and then the more acknowledgement, and then the more work that can be done to, fix things or work towards that.
Right. I feel like I don't really have a story that's hitting my head right now. Like it's been crazy and it's been really confusing. It's been a lot of negatives and positives. But I just don't have one, yo. Damn.
Jynx, do you have one? Because I have another one. I just stabbed my arm.
Yeah, I got one, or I don't know if you want to do yours first, or...
Okay, let me just say one word right now.
Yeah.
Pfizer.
Okay, the vaccine, I guess you're talking about, or just in general with them and their...
So with Pfizer, we're going to talk about the vaccine, but the reason I even bring up the company name is because a lot of people are getting excited about the vaccine, but they don't realize that the company behind that vaccine has had more lawsuits than I don't even know how many corporations.
Yeah, they've got
in one lawsuit alone, they almost reached $1 trillion that they had to pay in lawsuit money because the products that they put out injure people, kill people, paralyze people. There's so much evidence if you do your research and go look it up. The problem is that I feel not everybody, but there's a great amount of people who do trust the government to levels where they will not do their own due diligence. And I think it's important to remember that no matter who is telling you something, no matter where the information is coming from, you still have to do your own due diligence in locating that information for yourself to see what's true, what's not true, and then go down that rabbit hole. And then the other thing is that if COVID only came this year, well, late 2019, but for us in America, early this year, then how come a vaccine is already ready? Vaccines usually have to go through years of testing before they're even approved.
That's my biggest thing. You just hit it on the noggin again. Like that's one of the parts that I had before thought about. But yeah, go ahead, keep going. Yeah, so there's not like you hear about the vaccine all over the news, but what you don't hear is, and they'll say Pfizer because that's the company that is putting out the vaccines that created them. But
I think Moderna has one out.
Moderna as well,
yeah.
But that's another company.
And there's a couple others. I think Russia has one, and there's another country, European country, I think has one as well. I forget what it is, but it's not. I don't know if anyone else has approved that one the other European country has, or obviously Russian one. No one's going to try and approve that. They're like, F that.
Right.
You think Pfizer is bad? Try a Russian company.
Yeah. And Moderna, they've never pushed out any kind of product like this. This is their first time.
Well, they do pharmaceuticals, but not vaccines.
Exactly.
Right?
So that's why I'm saying, how did this vaccine, I know Brizz is going to say some stuff. How are the vaccines already out when this was so, random? Like this just came out of nowhere. All of a sudden we have all these vaccines ready. It takes years to approve them, but it's okay. We're just going to use them. Yeah, look at his face. All right. Go ahead.
We going in. Okay. First off, happy birthday, love to Coco Leah.
Thank
Jynx,
you.
So much love. Wrapping up 2020. So good old Google, This is what they said about Pfizer. Pfizer set a record for the largest healthcare fraud settlement and the largest criminal fine of any kind.
Yep.
With $2.3 billion in 2009.
That's insane.
Wow. Courts have dismissed thousands of lawsuits against Pfizer. The company also has agreed to settle cases involving claims of illegal marketing and healthcare fraud.
Yes.
That's like there's another company too. I forget what it is, but it's one that does like
Thanks,
one of those
Brizz.
Oxycontin or one of those.
Yeah.
Drugs. And what they were doing is they were getting doctors to over prescribe it. So literally people were getting addicted. Like, so they were making people get addicted to it. So they were like, even if it's like a small little
dose,
or no, like a small little
pain
headache or something, they're like, yeah,
it's
give the trouble because the markup he did, like the drug was originally something like $70, and he marked it up to like $2,000.
That's ridiculous.
And that's in the States, but the same drug you can get like anywhere else, like Canada, whatever. It was something like $30 or something for it. So it was like $2,000 in the States and like $30 for like in Canada and Europe. And
that's ridiculous.
It's the whole sorry, I was gonna say one last thing. It's the whole way that the lobbyists and the way the government in the States is messed up because they have it that they can't negotiate prices with the drug companies, which is kind of stupid,
that
right?
Is stupid.
So that's why the drug companies are, all right, cool, we're going to charge you whatever. Whereas other countries, like for us on our free healthcare, our government says we can negotiate for the prices for the generic version of those things. You know what I mean? So that's why we get it so cheap, right?
That makes sense.
When it comes down to it, though, like, you know, we can fight the situation. Well, we should fight the situation if like drug companies like that are messing up things.
Yep.
But then you still have individuals that are going to be like, no, I'm taking this. I don't care what y'all say. I'm taking this because I'm not trying to get sick.
And then next thing you know, they have a stroke.
Right. But then before that stroke, it's the fact that they're going to support those drug companies.
Yeah.
That's where it's like the entitlement is theirs, right? And we can't do nothing about that. We can't say, don't go do it. You don't know. And plus, we give them these numbers right now, like Brizz just did. He gave them the numbers, and they could be like, yo, that's a lot. But in a sense, they already made their mind up because of how they feel. So it's kind of hard to judge people about what they're doing because they feel like they're going to do what they want. You know, that's true. And that's why we have to just remember at the end of the day, everybody's going to have their own opinions and their own choices. We have to just make sure us as individuals, anybody who is a type of resourceful person, do your research because
at least
you
for
can't
yourself,
get mad at other people. I mean, I know it's going to be frustrating, especially if it's people you really care about that choose not to take that step. But at the end of the day, we can only do, you know, for ourselves. We can't control what other people do or don't do. We can only plant seeds at the very most, right? So that hopefully they can eventually go and do their research because the fear mongering is so real. So once you have a vaccine that comes out of nowhere, I mean, people are going to be on that. I've spoken with a few family members recently that, you know, they did think it was a good idea. And I said, hey, power to you. But these are the facts. Like, all I can tell you is, you know, go do research. And if you feel the same, hey.
And also you want to do look at different sources.
Yes.
Because like if you're just looking at stuff
Very
that
true.
say pops up on your Instagram or your YouTube, the way the algorithm works is like you may watch two videos that are say from the happen to be from the far right or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then the algorithm's going to start showing you more and more of those videos.
That's right.
And then you'll watch those, and it's kind of like you're going down like the rabbit hole of more and more alt-right stuff. Same if you're going like far left or crazy conspiracy or this. It's always good to say, okay, you know, let me step out of that, go into say Google or something, look at the also look at the sources where they're getting the information from.
Yes, that's a huge one.
Because, you know, if they just have a video saying it's bad or it's good or whatever, but there's no sources from where they got it from or the research, or even if they got it from another video, you know, and then check the other video and see their sources. But always look, because then if they put like studies, obviously people aren't going to read every study done, but, you know, a lot of people do, what do you call it? Like
survey?
What's kind of like a recap of it, like a recap of the study, so you can get like kind of like the, you know, the Cole's notes kind of the study, so you don't have to look at every data point, but it kind of, you know,
gives you the summary.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was looking for. A summary, right? So
yeah, man.
You know what I mean? So
speaking of the back and forth, like you were just saying, right? Besides the vaccine and all that, I'm asking both of y'all because, and the viewers out there, what are some of the positives and negatives that you guys got from 2020?
Positive and negatives. That's a really
for yourself.
Actually,
as an individual.
Just before you go that, I was going to say one thing about the news stories.
Right? Oh, right. Because that was part of the question. Yeah.
One story I think that got underreported is the war in Yemen. So a lot of
Oh,
people
yes.
don't know about that war, and right now it's one of the biggest
Worst.
what do you call it? Humanitarian issues since in like 100 years or something like that.
Yep.
Like there's it's like the biggest famine. Like the famine there is bigger. I think it's bigger right now than the Ethiopian one in the was the late 80s or the 90s.
Yeah.
So and the thing with that famine, it's all man-made. So like the Ethiopian famine was because of drought or whatever. This one, it's all man-made, right? It's because of the war, and then the certain sides are blocking humanitarian aid for coming in.
Yep.
So people are they're pretty much trying to
starving, dehydration. Yeah,
and then they're bombing civilians. So the Saudis are bombing crazy like civilian places, and obviously the Americans are supporting the Saudis. So a lot of those bombs are bought from the Americans and stuff. And then, but that whole thing there, it's just underreported. I mean, it's like right now it's a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran, but you know, the biggest thing there is really the humanitarian issue.
Okay.
And there's like, you know, millions of people that are starving to death. Literally, millions of people are starving to death. It's man-made, so it's preventable. It's not like, okay, we need to figure a way to get water or growing crops. It's because of man-made war, man-made bombing, blocking people from getting, like they're blocking millions of people from getting humanitarian aid like medical stuff and food and water. So, and they don't really, they reported a bit on that, but just
not as much as they should have. Nowhere near as much as it should have been.
And the only thing they really focused on was more like, okay, are we as Canadians or the U.S. You know, selling weapons to Saudi Arabia? But they didn't really talk too much about what's actually happening on the ground, and you know what I mean. So
there's a lot of things that are underreported. The problem with the media, especially mainstream media, is they only put out what they want you to see,
or what's going to make you watch, right? So
well,
like
exactly.
Yeah, like if you're up to ratings, you know what I mean. So what's sensational? And sometimes they just keep beating the same story, and it's like, bro, there's like hundreds
how many
of
other stories?
But,
exactly.
You know, it's one thing if it's like a regular, like, you know, the 11 o'clock news or something, but when you have 24-hour stations and it's like only like 6 stories they're reporting on for the all day, it's like, yo, really? Like,
it's ridiculous.
That's what one thing I'll say is when I watch like some other news stations, like European ones or like Al Jazeera or something like that, they report on a lot more stories. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even stories where you're like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Like, you know, it's like the arts, like, you know, the Africa Arts and Entertainment Hour or something like that, you know, or it's like the Asia financial report and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the American stations, they're all about ratings and trying to be sensationalize things. You know?
No, it's true. It's so true. It's true. All right, guys, those of you who are on our IG still, thank you so much for tuning in. I just want to let you know we are going to be getting off of that IG now.
Well, we're not finished, though.
We're not finished at all. Please go to our YouTube page, Raw Report Mixshow, so that you guys can catch us live on there. We're just on the IG for a little bit so we can let you guys know to tune in to our YouTube.
So you know what we'll do? We'll give you 5 more minutes while you go over to our YouTube, because we're live on the YouTube right now, and you'll be able to watch the full rest of the hour and a half. You know what I mean?
Matter of fact, we getting off right now.
Right now?
Hit up the YouTube right now.
You better hurry. You better hurry then.
You better hurry. Let's go right now.
We got 5 minutes apparently. 4, 3, 2, and
see you on YouTube.
That's
Peace.
right. Thank you for tuning in on our YouTube.
Just save that, eh?
But don't worry, YouTube.
Nanette.
Hey, what's up, Nanette?
YouTube.
Download it.
Download.
Yeah.
So YouTube, don't worry, we're not finished.
We're nowhere near finished, guys. We're gonna get right into our
with you, YouTube.
Our main topics.
So what's up, Nanette? We're talking about 2020's year, the positive and negatives. You know, we're going through it and trying to see what we got from it.
Right
now, we just discussed some world issues. Now, like I said, I asked you guys just before we wrap that piece up.
Yep.
Of what did you guys feel as though you got from the 2020, positive or negative for yourself?
For ourselves,
and you too, Nanette. You can comment. We'll
yeah, because we're asking you guys in the chat too.
Right.
So you let us know. Me personally, for 2020 positives, I was still able to get videos done at the beginning of the year.
As an artist?
As an artist, yeah. I was still able to release music throughout the year, still able to get some community work done, which I'm in the middle of doing now too.
Right.
Personally, as an individual, spending more time with my son.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first year in 5 years I was able to spend the summer with him. So that was good. We've been bonding even more.
Bang, bang.
Yep.
Right.
And bang, 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 bang.
She's making the noise for me. Yeah.
Sorry. Also learning new skills. I learned new skills this year too. Been tuning into a lot more webinars and learning new things and
educating the mind.
Very much so. Very much so.
What about you, Jynx?
I would say one thing, a lot less stress. You know what I mean? Wasn't having to run around from work to DJ and back to work. Like I used to do things where it's like, okay, I would go DJ Thursday night, have to work Friday morning, DJ Friday night, be back at work Saturday morning, and then DJ again Saturday night, and then be back at work on Sunday. And it was just like all those days, only like 3 hours of sleep. You know what I mean? And then, like sometimes we're doing like 10-hour shifts and 12-hour shifts and stuff like that too. You know, you remember open the closing too. You know what I mean? So and then DJing all night, sleeping 3 hours. Next day, open to close, then DJ again, then open again. So it's like a lot less stress. I was able to take it a little bit more easier, you know, relax a bit. Again, same with like Coco, you know, was learning some new skills and reading up on a lot of things, and you know, I mean, watching some tutorials, learn a bunch of different things, and you know what I mean. That's awesome. But a lot of it was just being able to like, you know, to actually sit back and breathe, you know what I mean? Really, instead of just like, you know, floating through life, you know what I mean? You got to be part of life, you know, kind of enjoy it as opposed to just being like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that. And
right. Yo, by the way, yo, Jynx, Brian was saying, yo, you're a beast for doing that because he doesn't understand how long you could do that for, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was amongst that too, like being around you as well. That like the DJing work, back to DJing, back to work, and I'm like, the man needs to breathe. I mean, like, yo, I used to be like, yo, Jynx, take it easy for a second, yo, get a breather.
But yeah, man, yo, big up Soundwave in there, you know what I mean? In the chat. There.
Oh yeah,
big up Soundwave.
That's Brian still, you know.
Okay, Soundwave, what's up, man?
Thank you so much for tuning in. We got to do what we got to do.
Yeah,
you know, the world doesn't wait. So we only have 24 hours in a day. So a lot of us got to go from work to work to work to work.
For myself, I feel like more patience, I guess. Actually, not patience. Like the negative part. Like,
thank you.
I feel like, you know, I couldn't sit still.
Like you can't sit still in general.
Right. So like the patience of like being home and not having to work. It's like, yo, it was just nagging me like, oh, yo, the world stopped. Like, I'm usually out and about and doing this and doing that. Just like, you know, Jynx was talking about before, but like, it showed me like, where are you running to though? You know, in a sense, where are you going? Because you still need to take time to look what's in front of you so you can get things done clearly.
That's right.
Positive, I feel like more opportunities came across for me. Which blossom into other things, which is continuing, especially the Raw Report. And yeah, that's it for me, basically.
What about you guys in the chat? Let us know your positives and negatives of 2020.
Right now, just tell us the positives, I think.
Yeah, just positive. Sorry, my bad.
Right, towards yourself.
That's right, towards yourself. In 2020.
Anything positive you did or anything positive you learned, or you know what I mean?
Anything positive that happened to you.
Right.
It could be personal, work related. Any of that.
Wise,
that's right. Family wise.
Yeah, as you guys think about it or whatnot, we're gonna move on though.
Negatives? Oh.
You got some messages?
That was you. No, that was you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Brian, what do you say?
He said nothing good came out of 2020. That's it.
No?
Yeah.
Not at all, bro.
Damn.
Come on. Gotta be at least one.
But true true thing. I mean,
You got to find a positive out of anything, you know?
true
Every
thing. I'm
negative.
blessed to be able to say, yeah, you know, I was able to relax and less stress. Whereas a lot of people, it brought on more stress because especially, you know, I mean, people had certain financial problems or they had
Yep.
their businesses, and it just really made it like so much worse that, you know, that just took over everything, and there's no real positives. Everything was a struggle just to
Yeah.
survive, let alone go above or beyond. And, you know, just
And really think about it.
yeah,
you know?
they're just
Okay.
on the line of surviving, you know what I mean? Paycheck to paycheck and whatever, you know?
Brizz.
Okay, I got a positive.
Okay, let's go.
So with all the turmoil and all of this panic within this like whole pandemic and whatnot, I feel like this time has really shown who's really had your back.
Oh yeah.
You know,
True,
it really
true.
showed your friends, your family,
Facts.
who's really down for you and riding for you with whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah,
And
without the hype.
aside of beliefs, inside of all that, they put all that aside and they really had your back and supported you in whatever you did. I noticed that this year brought the truth in a lot
True
of ways, you know?
colors.
It really showed the true colors, both good and not so good, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's my positive.
That's a really good one. That's
yeah,
factual.
and to elaborate on that, like this team in itself, you know what I'm saying? We managed to keep it going and try to keep the raw report where it is, you know. So most definitely, Brizz, that was a really good outlook on things. Yo, some people like the hype, but when you're not hype no more, they're not
Mhm.
around.
Yeah.
So
You want to make sure people are there. Everyone's going to be around when things are good.
exactly.
But you want to know that people are there when everything is as bad as it possibly can get.
And the thing is, too, there's also a lot of people who, because of the COVID and because of the issues and stress,
Mhm.
they kind of not even went into like a deep depression, but they kind of, a lot of people like kind of secluded themselves because of the situations they were in. So
Yep.
they felt, you know, everything's messed up. I don't have my job. I'm struggling to get by, and they just get in a way where it's like they don't really want to communicate with other people and stuff like that. Like
Right.
nothing wrong with the other people. It's more them personally because they feel they're in such a rut, such a bad situation. They kind of, you know, they just get seclusive and stay indoors and sometimes, they just kind of, I guess, have, I guess you could say a minor, minor depression sort of, you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
so that's why sometimes too, you got to check on some people. You might not have heard from them, but it's not
Yes.
it's not like, oh, they're really busy. They're probably busy, but it's not like, oh, you know, I don't want to bother them because they're maybe doing some online classes or learning. Sometimes they're just in a position where they just need that shoulder to talk to, you know what I mean? Someone
That's
to
right.
talk to or someone to, because sometimes too, you feel things are so bad, but if you talk it out with somebody, they can help you see, you know what?
It's not that
Things
bad.
are, yeah, exactly. Or they maybe they'll help you see ways out of that
Right.
situation you're in, you know what I mean?
Facts.
So
Yeah,
make
exactly.
sure to check up on people
Facts.
too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, support is the biggest thing you could do for anybody, I feel.
That's right.
You know,
Brian said something in the chat there if you want to read it, Prime, because I'm blind.
he's like, I know the strangers were a little more nicer to each other compared to before. So I would think that would be a big true because like I notice people, even if you're driving in your car and you're not on the TTC or any transport of that sort, I notice people saying hi too, like literally like, hey, like, and I'm like, do I know you? But then it's not like that I'm being rude, but the niceness of people did change a bit still. Walking to work or coming out my car and going to like shoppers or whatever, people would say hi more. And I feel like that is true in a sense. People became more nicer, but let's say when things go back to normal is the hype coming back with the attitudes and all that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. All right. Well, I agree. I agree with that partly. And then, I mean, once we talk about negatives, that can also flip the other way too. I mean, I feel like since COVID happened, there are people who are very nice and then and understanding.
Yeah.
And then there are other people who unfortunately are the complete opposite.
Yeah.
The complete.
Y'all better stay out of
opposite.
my way though.
Like, I'm talking about the ones who like police you. Okay, the ones with no badge. Okay,
Oh, those.
the ones who are like, "Where's your mask? Put your mask on." What do you mean you're medically exempt? No, you're not.
Oh,
I know you?
Oh, you guys are the raw report. Where's your mask?
Do I know you?
Go
Oh
sit
yeah,
down.
no.
Go sit down.
So here's a question: do you guys
I'm
feel
done
like
with you.
some of the COVID, like in regards to like say masks, and well, especially masks, kind of made a bit of a divide between people?
Huge.
Like some people that,
Huge.
like yeah, like I mean, people that you normally would have been just
Did you hear that, guys? That was Brizz, by the way.
like people that normally would be
Oh, Brizz
kind of
got
like,
something to say about
yeah.
this.
I say people that normally would be like kind of, you know,
I just need
cooler
some
together,
confetti.
but that kind of put a wedge between a lot of different people that normally it wouldn't have done that. Like, because everything else is kind of they're on the same page for everything else except that one small thing, masks. It seemed like it was it became such a polarized, yeah, exactly, such a polarizing
That's a good word
yeah,
right
you
there.
know what I mean?
Yeah, Brizz.
It's literally like when it comes to the mask, it's like a little earthquake just hit and it just separated everything. It separated people's entire worlds off of just a face covering. Like the fact that people can be so judgmental and be so willing to just throw you under the bus, yell at you and get mad at you. And I'm talking about not only strangers, because in the same turn where strangers were a little more nicer, it seems like the people that you thought were your friends or you thought were your family were the same ones to judge you and put you in a certain box and judge and create that divide that much more, right? And again, it really showed the true colors, both on the good and bad side.
It did.
Over something so seemingly so trivial.
Yeah, right.
You know, if you really look at the facts and you really educate yourself on mask and what it is about, everybody has their choice. Do what you want. But people don't really feel that way when it comes to the choice. They feel like you do it
their way, like their way, right?
It's either you do it our way or not, when it should be okay. Why don't we all just live our lives and do what we want? And it seems like that type of mentality kind of went out the window. And
sometimes too, just like, okay, is it really worth it to get so worked up? Like, I mean,
to some people it is. Yeah, like, that's the crazy part.
Like, for instance, say us here, we all have kind of different views regarding masks, right? You know what I mean? But we don't really go out of control saying, oh, you should do it this way or that way. You know what I mean? It's it's just a mask. I'm okay. I'll voice what I think. You'll voice what you think, and whatever. Maybe we'll debate it a little bit, friendly debate or exchange of ideas.
Yeah.
But that's
agree to
crazy.
disagree.
But people get really crazy. No, like you're not doing it my way, or you're why.
People have died already from that. There was a kid that got there was a guy that got shot outside an LCBO because of an altercation that started in the LCBO because of social distancing and mask wearing, and it continued outside. The guy ended up getting shot.
Wow.
And that is absolutely, in my opinion, that is absolute nonsense. Like, for people to be losing their lives over this is ridiculous. But that's the kind of stuff that's gonna come from this.
And I think with that, another negative that I've noticed now is the influence of the media and influencers in a negative way, because with the research and studies and whatnot that is out there, you would think that they're in a position where they can influence the masses and influence people, right? So you have almost a responsibility to be impartial when it comes to both what's true and maybe what you believe in. You know, give the facts, give what's actually real and what's actually happening, as opposed to leaning on whatever people are investing in you, you know, and going off of what they believe, right? Just be honest, be straight up. Everybody should be able to have a choice. And the fact of choice, it seems like it's more and more an illusion as we get older and as time goes on. And I think that's another negative, but I'm going to go back to my corner.
And I think one thing with the...
hold on, big ups to Brian. Yo, much love.
One thing too, I think with the news, kind of like what you mentioned, is that you know, there's one thing regarding, like, there's some people get it mixed up when they watch certain things on news, and sometimes people have to differentiate if the person that's reporting is reporting news or if it's like a commentary, opinion thing. So like people, if you watch, say, well, I don't really watch too much, but you know, if you see any Fox News in the evening time, all those shows are all commentary, right?
Yeah.
A lot of that is not actual factual news. It's more, you know, someone just sitting there talking about what I feel like, and you know, picking and choosing
what they want to touch on,
facts that kind of back what their bias is.
Right.
But then if you watch some other programs, like in the daytime, or say you watch like whatever, say CBC or something, or whatever, France 24 or something, and they're reporting news, it's different, because then they're just reporting, okay, yeah, well, whatever, 5 bombs fell here and this many people died.
Yep.
That's fact. I was saying, well, the reason is because I think this, and they shouldn't have been doing this because blah blah blah. Then you're getting into opinions. So,
yep, 100%.
I think a lot of people, like when they watch it, a lot of people don't differentiate the opinions from the actual stories. So therefore, they start believing the person's opinion as a factual story. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's the unfortunate part, because that goes right back to doing your research.
Exactly.
You have to do your research, right? And you have to be able to know, like, hey, I'm taking care of me. And if you just accept the fact that even before COVID, you cannot control what other people do. You can only control your response to things or your choice as to how you deal with certain situations. That's all people need to understand. Because really and truly, what's going to come out of somebody telling another person, for example, no, you're not medically exempt, or yeah, right, or what? Like, who the hell are you to say that
or
to
shun
somebody?
You because of
exactly.
your ideologies? You know
exactly.
I mean, I guess if you've got like crazy ideologies, like let's kill all the black people and forget.
Yeah, that's messed up.
And that's, but
that goes beyond ideologies, crazy, right? And
it's ideology, but it's racist though. It's
very
kind of racist, right?
So that's the thing. Everybody has to just remember to do their research. Doesn't matter if it comes from the TV. Or even somebody's live, like if they have a live show like we're having.
But credible ones, you know what I mean? Like if you're watching Alex Jones and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Then you may not want to take what he's saying, because, this is the guy who says the water that the frogs are drinking are making them gay and crazy shit, you know what I mean?
This guy.
But yeah, just, when you're watching some of those things online or little clips, a lot of time take it with a grain of salt and try and, look at the facts or look at, who that person actually is. Because sometimes, it's a doctor, so-and-so says this. You look it up and they're like a doctor of like pinky
there can
toes
be
or
so
something.
many. Right? There's a lot of people who have doctorates in different things, or who are doctors, not necessarily medical.
Exactly. Because, there's smart doctors out there that are doctorate. You can have a doctorate in like, certain sciences or what, or not like, sorry, what do you call it?
Or philosophy, or psychology, or
what's that other side? Political science.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's poli-sci. That's not a doctor that's going to be. You're going to want to say, oh, I'm going to go to him to get a surgery done or something. You know what I mean? Or tell me what my.
I mean, it's common sense at the end of the day, right? It's you're watching something. You can't just take everything for what you see in front of you. You have to do your research.
Or also, if you've got good, reliable sources, stick to those sources. You know what I mean? Because like, there's a lot of people who, a lot of people don't have time, right? They're busy people, so they don't have time to say, okay, I'm going to research every single thing I see on the news, right? So if you've got a source that's a reliable source, it's good to you can stick with that. And also for the people out there too who's trying to who don't know what, like, who have trouble figuring out what's reliable and what's not, you can go online, and I think it's called it's like there's a website, and they show if the websites are like the publication, the websites are truthful or biased.
The fact checking.
Yeah, and one of them, like, so they'll say one thing if it's
you gotta fact check
how factual correctly they are, and they'll also tell you, if sometimes they're factual, they're good factual, but they'll also say it's factual, but it's biased to the left or biased to the right. You know what I mean? So therefore, what they're saying is fact, but they may leave out.
Lean towards a certain part of it.
Exactly. So they may leave out certain things, but the things they do tell you are truthful. So I mean, that's better than nothing. You know what I mean?
That is better than nothing. That's for sure.
But it's good to get something from the left and the right and the center. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But if you've got time.
And you got to always remember too that just because somebody is a doctor, we have to make sure that we do even further research. And I'm just saying that because during this whole COVID period, and even before COVID, I've had certain situations with doctors. And if you don't do your due diligence to ask questions, or if you don't do your due diligence to research what you're being told, then you could, find yourself in a serious predicament. Because during this COVID time, for example, there are a lot of doctors who are saying certain things, but then there are other doctors who are coming out and saying the complete opposite. And then those videos are going missing. And you have to ask yourself why that is. And it's not just about watching those videos, even those. You have to, even if it's stuff that you may believe, still do research elsewhere, because just because something seems to make sense or seems to be plausible, you have to still do your research. And I mean, a lot of people, that's the problem. They're lazy. They don't want to do research.
And also sometimes too, it's like there's something called confirmation bias, right?
Yes.
So if you've got a bias towards a certain view on something
Mhm.
and you see things that reinforce that view, you're going to keep
Right.
watching. You're going to continue watching those kind of things. It's like, yeah, you know what? They're
Hey, what's up, Nanette?
Yeah.
they're like saying the same thing I believe in, so therefore I'm not going to check the other things because they're going against it. But
Right.
what you're seeing may not be truthful, or just like the thing you're saying about doctors.
Mhm.
Sometimes too, you look at some of those videos. I mean, I can go to party packagers, buy a friggin' Halloween doctor's jacket,
Outfit.
make a video say, yeah, this is Dr. Russell.
Yep.
And I'm like, you know what I mean? And this, I'm gonna tell you why you should, take this pill. Say,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Take this pill or don't take this pill because blah 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 blah. But a lot of people won't check to see, is that guy actually a doctor?
A doctor, yeah.
Or is he just saying it? Because there's a lot of people that are out there that are purposely trying to put misinformation, you know what I mean, for whatever their agenda is, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's corporate, sometimes
Nice.
sometimes it's just trolls, you know what I mean? But they'll do it, and if they can get it going viral, people watch it, share it. Next thing you know, everyone's quoting something from Dr. Russell, myself.
Which is like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, which is not even a real doctor. I was
Right?
doing it like with ill intent because I'm trying to fool people into thinking this or fool people into thinking,
That's right.
immigrants are bad or something like that. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So as we move on, we're gonna wrap that side of this section 1 up
Mm-hmm.
about changes within 2020. A lot of changes has happened,
Yes.
right? But I want to kind of move on to the music industry and the entertainment
Let's
because that's
go.
what actually has people kind of going in a sense, right?
Yep.
Entertainment as far as movies and etc., right?
well, people have more time on their hands too. So I think they're
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can indulge in their own
yeah, because I think
stuff.
People are being told to stay home.
yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you can't really like most people now, Friday, Saturday night, you can't even go out you can't go to clubs or bars or whatever, right? So what are you doing? You're at home listening to music, watching
Movies, Netflix,
movies,
all that.
TVs, whatever.
Hey, so Nanette, I want to ask you a question. Since you're at home doing online school, you're a full-time mom at the same time. What is the challenges that COVID have given you while you're at home?
Mm-hmm.
And what have you been doing to cope with that? And as we're talking about music industry and entertainment, what have you been doing to entertain yourself at the same time?
That's right.
and please keep it clean.
That's right. We're raw. Oh yeah. Well, I know what you meant.
Wait,
Pun intended.
She gotta keep that clean. She gotta keep that clean.
Nah, man, we raw up in here. I like it raw.
We're raw, but you guys keep it clean.
Hey,
I
Nanette,
like that. And
you on the report, so you could do whatever you want to do.
oh, we got conflicting. Yeah. Okay.
Well, do what you want.
And congrats, by the way. I see that you said spending more quality time with your kids is a huge plus for you. I hear you on that. Me too. Congratulations.
All the parents out there doing that,
Yes, congratulations. It's we get so busy with having to provide for our kids.
right?
This world, puts us in a state where we have to work, rush.
My head's so big.
Make money, provide. And I mean, obviously we have to do that regardless, but somewhere along the line, sometimes we forget what's really important, or we don't forget, but we're striving to spend more time together, but it's really tough.
Now
It's
is
really
that
tough.
time, right? Now's that
So
time
yeah,
to
take
say,
advantage of this.
hey, you guys that have been doing so much running around and your businesses are so packed and you can never not stop working.
Mm-hmm.
You better take this advantage.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Prioritize your time, organize yourselves. Another plus for me was I got a lot of stuff done in my apartment. I got a lot of reorganizing and purging and a whole bunch of stuff done.
Right.
But sorry, music industry and entertainment, my
Purging.
bad. Yeah, I purged a lot.
Jeez.
Funny to say that word right
The
now.
purge.
Jeez.
If you guys haven't seen the third purge, which is really the first one,
You're talking about
This-
the
does
movies?
that make sense? Yeah, the movies. It's called the first. Sorry.
Oh, so it's like a prequel kind of type thing, or
Yeah, it's like what they try.
Hey, Netflix,
I haven't watched any of
Hey,
it. yet,
Netflix,
so-
you
Oh,
guys
I've
have that
watched
or
all
what,
3.
Because Netflix
You
don't
gotta
have
watch.
nothing there.
You gotta watch the first Purge, which is the third one that came out because
on
it's
Netflix?
very. Is it on Netflix?
So you watched the third one first, and then the other ones.
Netflix,
No, I
get your
watched
game
the first
up.
one that came out, which was just the Purge. The second one is the Purge Anarchy.
Yeah. So in
And then
chronological order, you watched it.
And then the third one that they put out, they named it the first Purge.
Oh, okay.
But don't,
so like
yeah.
a prequel,
don't you
right?
guys
Yeah.
think with entertainment being such a big thing too, a huge thing to us, if you put out something like The Purge, like how much influence are you really having with that type of movie and with the Saw as well?
Oh my gosh!
You know what I'm saying? Those movies were kind of like really entertaining to a point where if you're a psycho out there, you're gonna do some psycho stuff.
Like
Yeah,
that caterpillar shit. What is that?
Oh
What is
my
it called?
God! No, I
What's that
know
called?
the centipede.
Centipede,
No,
yeah.
no. That
Hey, we
movie's
get too
messed
deep
up.
right now.
That movie is so.
Yo, that's raw. as
Nothing's
hell.
really too raw, but that's
That's
disgusting.
crazy
That
stuff,
movie's
man.
messed up. That traumatized me. What did you say?
Okay.
More opportunities, you say?
Yep. She's definitely not taking family for granted.
That's right. You go,
That's
girl.
a big one in that.
You go, girl. That's a great
Exactly.
answer.
That's
Great answer.
That's the most positive answer I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
Never
man.
take family for granted for sure. You
So
know,
in-
you only have them one time.
So, in terms of music industry and entertainment, what should we touch on first?
Tory Lanez.
Okay.
Alright.
Yeah. So
What
this
is
happened.
up, brother?
This whole Tory Lanez thing got my mind just like going all over the place because
but
it started as something sort of big, but not so big, and then it blew out of proportion.
And at
And
one
for-
point,
and for what?
I just stopped caring at one point.
Yeah,
I
like I
stopped caring
Like, I
from the
know-
beginning.
Yeah, like I saw like maybe when it first
From the
happened,
get-go.
and then after that, I'm like, yeah, I don't got time for this.
I'm
You know
like,
what I
didn't
mean?
you just get shot in the foot?
Yeah,
or
I'm like-
something?
after that, I'm like,
Yeah,
yo,
but
you know,
it's like
is
this,
all
though.
some bullshit.
It was
Like,
just-
Yeah, but it's
Oh,
like this though.
so
If you
like
ridiculous.
stupid stuff with celebrities. You know, funny stupid like
There's so many things going on in the world, but
yeah,
that
exactly.
is so important.
even for them, I feel like even for them, it's like to a point. It's like, all right, how long can we drag this if they're trying to drag something? Because
And
she
sometimes-
gets shot,
Distraction.
right?
And publicity too, because when he had a new album coming out too, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and her too, with her album coming right
Yup.
after.
And
But-
and that's
Yeah.
kind of similar to like Kanye when he was trying to run for
No
president.
cap
It was
indeed.
right when he was releasing his album. You know what I
Yup.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Whenever a news channel said, "Yeah, Kanye West is running," and he's also got a new album, so it was like free promotion for
Yeah,
him. You know what I mean? So-
Exactly. And
But yeah, I feel like even as for all the artists out there, including Tory Lanez, like morals have to come to a certain point. You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, you like for everyone that made money before COVID, especially going into COVID too, it's like now there's a point where you gotta say like, let me stop around and putting scandals out there and sort of things like that. I was seeing how DJ Academics is talking about, at a point you can go and cover something,
Mhm.
but then it's like at a point you need to really think about what you're covering,
you do.
So things like that where they want to just if this is a opportunity to make money towards something like shooting a girl in her foot, it's like what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
and then for her, if it's a scandal thing, for her to agree with it, that's the craziest part about it.
Listen, she went the whole I didn't even
But they make it well,
continue that sentence.
right. She's making it seem like
It was
she's-
some huge thing.
yeah, which I don't know for sure. I'm not her. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not about this, everyone attacking a black girl and all this. I'm talking about the story itself. So for her, I hope it's not something like, let's go ahead and do this for clout. Like,
That's the word right there.
Well, some people too,
Please.
they just love drama, right? They're
Oh, of
drama
course.
queens, right? So they
Damn.
they just want the publicity all the time. They want to be front page, like
no
Trump-
publicity
yeah,
is
Trump's like that too, right? He's like, yeah, I want to be in the news every day. So some people want,
yeah, but you want to bring Little Pump on stage. Little Pump?
like
That
some
was
people.
funny.
Yeah.
What is that?
But the thing with I know that's
Everybody
What
want
is
to be
that?
like me. Everybody.
I saw a live that just randomly, to be
Oh,
honest, I
man.
happened to be on IG when Tory Lanez was doing a live, and I don't usually tap on it, but I'm like, you know what? Let me do that. So I tapped on it, and he was going in about, you know, her reaction and the direction she was going with the whole incident. And he was like, I'm keeping quiet because I'm not out here trying to blast anybody. You know, mistakes were made and he admitted certain mistakes. And it was like she took it as, from where I'm standing anyways, she was taking it and running with it. Like going off with.
So supposedly I got shot. Why am I not running with it? But you're from, then you're from the streets. Why are you talking about being shot to all these people?
My thing is, you got shot in the foot, bro.
Yeah, it's not like,
and he wasn't coming for you like it was some robbery or
like
whatever. You guys were in the same car, and it was an accidental shooting. I mean, I wasn't there. Okay, granted, I was not in the car.
Allegedly, right?
Okay, but the thing is, it's just when you see how slowly things were going, and then all of a sudden she took it, and just he was going off on his live.
Mm-hmm.
About the fact that he goes, I'm not trying to, you know, put her down. You know, I have a lot of love for her. You know, I made mistakes. We all made mistakes. But at the end of the day, he didn't feel that she needed to take it as far as she did with her lawyers, because apparently there was a little issue between the lawyers where like she was getting a little too much.
But you know,
Tory Lane's lawyers was like,
yeah,
no,
but you know the industry
anything.
you're in.
That's the thing too.
It's a money industry.
Yep.
Whatever you do, I'm going to try to get money off of that.
Exactly.
Money and publicity.
My thing
too,
is,
right?
why are you even? My thing is, he's so successful, right?
All of them are.
No, they are. But I'm saying for him because he's the one that is the one in trouble because of the shooting, right?
Uh-huh.
So my thing is, one thing that bothers me in general is why was that firearm out at all where it was used, right? My thing is, especially if you're so successful, why do you put yourself in positions where you're going to get yourself into so many problems? Like how you'll have some artists, you know, boasting on their live, their posts of, you know, with guns and this and that. Next thing you know, you just baited yourself out. Cops are there arresting you for what?
Yeah,
for what? Or you shoot somebody and you're in jail for the rest of your life. There goes your entire career. If you have kids, there goes that. You know, like you don't think before you do things.
There's an artist just recently that, like, not recently, but say in the last year that got booked on the same shit. He was talking some shit online, and in one of his songs, like, was it TK or what? Was it TK or
TK?
Was it TK? One of the
TK been gone for a while.
Yeah, I forget. It's somebody they same thing. They booked him because they said, okay, this is what he said, and then one of his songs, he talked about shooting the guy that they were investigating him for. So then they use a song in court against him.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. There was I don't know if the same artist because there's been a few, but
yeah, there's a lot of different artists out there.
Why are you gonna go in your song and talk about it? Are you dumb?
Yeah, yo. And another thing is too, like, so that's one dumb thing. The other dumb thing
ridiculous.
Is like some of them, they don't talk that stuff, but they just do stupid shit on the road.
Yep.
So it's like, dude, how do you get pulled over and you've got like 10 guns in your trunk, but you're like a big fucking artist? Like, what? Sorry for the language.
We're Raw Report.
Yeah, you're like a big artist. You got 10 guns in your trunk.
I swear too much.
Like, what are you doing? Like, bro,
it makes no sense.
Yeah, like, what are you trying to, like, yeah, okay, I know you want to be in the hood, but yo, why are you, and you're bringing guns across like county or
it's like this
lines and stuff?
the biggest thing I have is like,
and they're illegal too. It's not even like, okay, you're
right, they're not registered either.
It's one thing you got a whole bunch of guns in your trunk and you're like a big artist, you can get your guns, well, depends on what artist you are, right? But a lot of them you can get, you know, legal guns. Yep. But I'm like, or they're caught with like drugs, but not like drugs to use, but like drugs like with the intent to sell and stuff like that. I'm like, let me ask you
guys a question real quick.
Okay.
Speaking of that, right? We're talking about people putting themselves in a position to get snatched up by the police or put themselves in the stupidest position by having weapons or whatever, and they're on probation, etc. Yo, a lot of artists go on to those big platforms like Vlad.
Yeah.
And shout out to Brizz if you guys heard him.
He said Vlad, if anybody, you know.
Yeah,
totally
Vlad
did. VLAD.
And
Vlad TV.
And DJ Academics, right? So these platforms, they go on themselves. And then, like, if we're Raw Report and we decide to get people on this platform as well, which hopefully we get there because we will get there.
Oh, we're getting there, guys.
At the end of the day, They chose to come onto that platform to say what they needed to say about themselves. If it's not about somebody else, why is it that people feel like the platform is the trouble? If I go ahead and ask one of you guys to come to the show and I ask you direct questions, you don't have to answer anything. But you guys make it seem like the platforms are the people putting people in jail. The artists themselves come on and say and answer those questions and have their own say if they are going to say anything or not.
Yeah, they could choose to just not.
Right. Yeah. So that's where the confusion for me is. People be like, yo, what the hell is Vlad doing? Yo, what the hell is DJ Academics doing, putting people in jail? And
they're grown. They're grown.
They're cops and blah, blah, blah. Listen, y'all are coming onto the show.
You're making the choice.
And making the choice to say what you want.
Like, yeah, you're adults.
Like, watch what happened to Casanova just now.
Oh, yeah.
He comes on to Vlad. Vlad is saying certain things like, yo, so after this happened, you went to do this because you had to? Casanova's like, yeah, I had to go blah, 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 giving his own information.
So silly, man.
But
there's ways to answer stuff,
but the thing is, though, like, as much as I totally agree with, there has to be a level of accountability when it comes to the artist and whoever comes on. At the same time, he has a platform where he makes a person feel comfortable enough where they can share it almost to the point where they forget there's a camera even on them.
But still, that's why you have a publicist.
Good interview guy,
but the thing is, like, he's good at what he does.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
He knows how to make the person comfortable. He knows how to make the artist or whoever comfortable enough to divulge certain information. But at the same time, Vlad does have a responsibility in terms of the questions that he asks. Because a lot of times I always hear him talking. He never really talks about the music. When it comes to these artists, he's always talking about certain
life
cases
situations
they're involved in, or certain maybe gang or drug affiliations that they have.
That's true.
So in as much as the artist may have a responsibility, him as a journalist has that responsibility and to ask certain questions, right? Because if he asks certain questions, I mean,
but you know what?
But then he kind of plays. Well, you should know better, right? But it goes both ways. I just feel it goes both ways.
No, it does go both ways. But me personally, if I was in an interview and somebody asked me, because I do believe it goes both ways, 100%. Yeah. But if I'm in an interview, first of all, any artist, anybody that's in any kind of position where they're going to be interviewed about something, there's also, that's why we have people who work for us or work with us that help train you. Like, for instance, I have a manager and we have sessions where we practice things and she will throw random questions at me and I'm like, what? She'll be like, yeah, you got to be ready, girl. Let's go. And it's the reason that she does that is because you never know what someone's going to ask you. So you need to know how to answer certain things. But to be point blank, like, honest with you, if I was Casanova and Vlad was asking me about gang affiliation or anything that doesn't have to do with my music, that has to do with some crime that will incriminate me, I'm going to tell him straight, don't friggin' ask me those questions anymore. You don't have to answer. You could say no comment. And you can also say that's mad disrespect because you know damn well what you're asking me and you know where you're going with that. So don't ask me those questions.
And there's
some interviewers who ask questions. Like, for instance, Scarlett Johansson had an interview that I saw a clip of recently, okay? And I can't remember who the interviewer was, but they interviewed her and the question literally was, and she said, what the hell kind of interview is this? The guy literally asked her, what color panties does she have on? And
shout out to that
me,
guy.
Oh my God, yo. And she literally, some people might have answered that, but she literally looked at whomever was sitting next to her because you couldn't see that area.
Right.
And then she looked at him and she said, what the hell kind of interview is this? Is this what people are asking on interviews now? Like, ask stuff that's relevant. But because, like one of you said, I think you said it, a lot of people love the drama. So questions are asked. And really at the end of the day with Vlad TV, it's his choice what he wants to ask.
It's his platform.
Right. So he's going to ask stuff to get that drama. But what he needs to understand, too, is some people are going to come on that show. He's going to ask certain questions, and they're going to be waiting for him outside.
And then listen,
you need to chill.
Hold on, but just before you said that, 20 plus years, Vlad been doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And he got criminals and certain bad boys around him that if he has to go outside and do normal things, wherever he is, he could get caught up.
Yeah, exactly.
But he hasn't, right? Not to say I'm not wishing no death on
Of course
nobody,
not,
right?
No.
But I'm saying he must have some sort of relationship with the
Somebody.
streets.
Yeah.
So
To be able to ask questions like that, I just
Maybe some of the street guys feel like they had enough too and need to influence some people because of their story. Who knows?
yeah. Who knows?
So I got a question for you guys.
All right.
So this is not Vlad. This is just in general for people doing interviews.
Okay.
So
Including us.
yeah, right. So if you're an artist and you talk in your music a lot about gangster stuff and this and this and that, should it be off limits for an interviewer to ask you questions about that? Like if you're talking about it in your music, then I think. And one more thing to add to that too is that you know, when people are being interviewed like music wise, a lot of time they always get asked the same question. You know, how did you get started in music? Who are your idols, or how did who influence and stuff like that, right? So to ask them something different that people may want to know, that's like, I'm not saying that's what Vlad does, but that's why a lot of interviewers will ask certain other questions, a hard question. And like I was saying, if
Nana said happy birthday, guys.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, like if somebody's talking the gangster stuff in the music, should it really be off limits for an interviewer to ask them those
asked certain specific things that person did, like out on the street? If there was something that came out, then I don't think that needs to be asked. But I do strongly believe that journalists or anybody doing interviews do need to become more creative in the questions they ask, because
not just regular.
You don't want to have like
where's your next show and where is it?
The same questions all the time. Like obviously you want to know people's stories, but you know, have more interesting questions to ask. And yes, you have to know as an artist, if you are talking about gangster stuff in your music, if you are talking about shooting up people in your music, if you are talking about that stuff in your music, then you can't really get mad. Yeah, you can't really get mad at Vlad or whomever to ask certain questions, because you didn't leave it off limits. Or they're going to ask
you about a certain song. Say, oh, you talked about this and this in the song. Is that from real life or not real life? And that should be that question shouldn't be off the table, because
that's actually a really good way to ask it, because they're not specifically honing in on something. They're leaving it up to that individual to answer the best way they feel.
And I think he has done that. And then there's a story right now, as we're speaking about entertainment of 2020.
Okay.
Rondo, that was just the rapper that just got involved with what's his name? The death of
King Von.
King Von.
Yeah.
Before that happened, that situation with Rondo and his boy killing King Von.
Yep.
Rondo already told his story on Vlad.
Jeez.
Okay. Told his story about his upbringing in life as a child around his mom and etc.
Okay.
Said already how he is involved with the streets, and because how he is involved with the streets is because of his background. Right. So now he already showed how he is as an individual.
Okay.
He goes off and he gets into that altercation with Vaughn and his people, and Vaughn's dead. So in that case, it's like he already told Vlad before something happened, right? That didn't involve police in a sense of like they're criminalizing him in that interview. People do it to themselves. So when it comes to interview questions, I feel ask any question you want to ask, because as adults, we have the choice.
We do. And we also have the choice to go through that before. A lot of times when you do interviews,
you can tell them what's off limits.
Yeah, you can tell them what's off limits. They also, as an interviewer, will ask you, are there any specific things you want to discuss or want to leave out? And I mean, as artists or anybody who are getting interviewed, I feel it's our responsibility, not just the interviewer, to come forth with saying those things.
Right.
But saying, keep this off the page.
Because
I want to only talk about that.
Right.
Because the way I would see it too is if you compare it to like a politician, right? Most people won't say, well, you don't ask that politician about a crime thing he did, right?
Exactly.
But most people say, yeah, I want to know if this politician was freaking embezzling money when it's supposed to go to this, right? So I don't think people should be saying, okay, well, it's okay to ask politicians those questions, but not rappers, or it's okay to ask rappers those questions, but not politicians. You know what I mean?
Because they all have responsibility.
But that's just like the Raw report, right? We're so raw, we can ask what we want, right? And if we go off and and put it as where we're gonna ask them, oh, is that okay? That's not being true to ourselves. So in an interview now, when you say, yo, don't ask me that kind of question, I feel like we just move on. My bad. All right, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
That's that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as you're saying it, it's like put in a category where like everybody else does, like when they do the interviews, everything's set up. Yeah. One by one. Yeah. Where we're just free.
We're raw.
And we're raw.
Yeah.
And I think what's good too is like, you know, there's sometimes you see interviews, not just in entertainment, but just in general. And, you know, they just kind of ask another question, but the good interviewers will ask a question, then they have the follow-up questions, or they'll hold them accountable for what your answer is. Because wait, that doesn't make sense. I just asked you this, you said this, but but everybody else seems like, you know, this whatever the record sales say, or the record company says this. So you saying the record company did this to you, they're telling you something different. You know what I mean? But also one other thing I was going to point out too is that
thank you.
Sometimes they ask those questions because there's rumors going around, or someone else is saying something. So they're like, we want to try and get to the bottom of this, and so we're hearing that. Say it's nothing crazy, but we're hearing that you're leaving X record label. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What's going on with that? Yeah, why? And we hear there's some kind of tension between you and one of the other artists on the label. Mm-hmm. So what's up with that, or who is that, or what happened between the two of you, or why is your label beefing with that label? Yeah. And I think
there's ways to answer it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question because if it's a rumor out there, it's better to get the straight answer from the source. Yes. But again, like you said, they don't have to. They don't have to answer. Right? Like I saw an interview the other day. Well, it's from an old interview, but I think it was DJ Paul they're interviewing, you know, from 3-6 Mafia.
Yeah.
And they must have been asking him something about you know, the other guy from used to be part of 3-6 Mafia, Crunchy Black. Mm-hmm. That guy, right? Yeah. So that guy got shot in his head or something still, right? Or shot in his chest or his head or some stuff. And he was asking DJ Paul some questions about that. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
And Paul was like, yeah, well, you know, you just kind of say, I'm not going to talk, you know,
talk about that. Yeah. Sometimes they can get in trouble too, right? Yeah. If there's something going on where there's some legalities involved. Yeah. You can't really touch on certain things, right?
And I mean, and people can use that too. Cause I mean, you see people on the news sometimes and they're like, well, you know, there's some police shooting or something. And they ask the person something and they're like, you know, I can't really get into those details because it's an ongoing court case.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, at the end of the day, all you need to say is like, either before you go into the interview, say, you know, we don't really want questions asking this.
Yeah.
Or if you're asked one, you don't have to answer. I mean, and they'll and an interviewer will try and push you to answer.
Of course they will, yeah.
But you know, as long as once you say a couple times, and they're going to move on because they've got a limited amount of time.
Exactly. Right? And so you can also, like you said, there's a way to answer them. So let's say there is a feud going on, or the individual did do something bad, right? Whether it was criminal or whether it was something within the label. I mean, you might not say, well, I don't want to answer that. You could also say something short, like, you know, I've made some mistakes, right? But that's not something that I like to go into detail about at this time, and kind of finesse it. Again, if you are an individual, like let's say an artist, because we're talking about music too, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you're an artist and you're on Vlad TV or another channel, another show, being interviewed, and somebody asks you a certain question that you might not want, or that's uncomfortable. That's something that I feel everybody should be prepared for. So if you know you're doing something in the streets, or you know you committed some kind of crime, or you know you're doing something wrong in any form, that's something that you should be working out with either your manager or a publicist or whomever that is training you on how to answer those questions. Everybody that is in this kind of industry should have that, you know, under their belt some way, somehow. Exactly. Because you need to be prepared. You can't just say, well, I don't want to answer that. Well, I don't want to answer that one either. And so what did you come here for?
Then no one's gonna
want to interview you.
Exactly. And the thing is too, like you're saying, you've got to be ready, especially if there's some big rumor out there, or there's something that's in your past that just came out or something.
Yeah.
You know that's gonna be the top of everybody's everybody's list to interview to ask you a question
Yeah.
about. You know what I mean? Like
you got to
it's
be
like,
prepared.
yeah, like
But Vlad, I'm not gonna lie, Vlad goes in hard.
yeah. So
He goes in
And
real
he
hard.
has no remorse for it. He even
No,
said
he
it,
really
like,
doesn't. No.
I'm doing what I feel I want to do.
Yep.
But and the thing is, like, not necessarily for artists, but I think for other people, like how we talked before about like you know, the media and doctors and experts being honest and stuff. I think having questions like that, like say the way Vlad goes in, but you know, the same thing, but for like doctors and experts and stuff. That's how you want your an interviewer to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to get, like, if they're saying, well, this, or say for instance, like the vaccines, right? We've been talking about vaccines a lot, right? So you have someone from Pfizer on whatever, say MSNBC or something. You know what I mean? You want the interviewer to be asking those hard questions, asking like, you know, oh, well, what about, I heard that, you know, how can it be safe if it came out so fast? And then when they answer, you want to follow up and say, well,
you want to have a rebuttal?
Yeah, wait, that doesn't make sense what your answer is. Or, oh, you answered that, but then so-and-so publication, you know, scientific publication saying that data isn't correct. So how do you respond to that? Or, you know, whatever.
Gotta be ready.
You know, how you've been, you've been convicted of, you know, fraud with pharmaceuticals and stuff in the past. How can we trust this one is going to be legit? You know what I mean?
Right.
And you want your interviewer to push those questions, because something like that, you want those answers to, and like we're saying, that's what kind of helps inform us about, we don't want those little fluff interviews.
That's right. That's
so
right.
yeah, as we move on a bit, you know, we just wrapped up a little bit of the music industry and entertainment. You know,
hold on, I got one more thing for the music thing, if we can do it. Major hype.
Oh, all right. Scandals.
Oh yeah, if you want to go scandals, yeah.
we're gonna try to wrap it up though, but we got a limited time.
Your quick thoughts.
Right. So quick thoughts about that is if someone cheats on you, leave them. If someone's beating you, get out of there. That's it. There's no debating about if you have kids or not. You got to make it work between the kids. You guys are not stable. You need to move on. You need to know that is not right, cheating or violence. So make that decision really quickly. Don't think about it. It's done. You move on.
And stop crying online. Like,
I was just going to say that.
Yes.
Yeah, deal with it within your personal life. Because once you get online and you start talking all over the place
it's
about
gonna
that,
start messing up your mind.
People are also going to just see it as clout.
Exactly.
Like, and you're going to get good and bad.
Yeah. It just looks like little kids bicker, like, you know,
exactly.
Little high school.
And you have children.
Yeah, you're hurt. Of course.
Like, every time I see people do that, not necessarily like big celebrities, but just like, you know, you go on Facebook and you say, oh, this girl's beefing, like talking shit about her boyfriend online, and then you see his page, he's like saying, yo, well, she's this and this and this. I'm like, yo,
2 seconds later they're back together.
It doesn't make no sense.
And
but as
like, do it in your inboxes, like, do it personal. Don't put it out there, you know?
Proceed.
Yeah. So also, just before we leave with the entertainment situation, the actors that have passed away this year, it's tragedy.
Shout out to
so
them.
much of them that you know in your childhood has passed on. Even present time, like Vaughn and all these young kids, like, you know, we got to really take our time to, you know, get
Black
Panther, you know, take
Chadwick
and Debo just died. Like, if anyone knows that guy, he's from Friday, the big bully, Tiny Lister.
Yep.
From wrestling too, isn't he?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah. Zeus. Yeah. So, you know, God rest their soul and everyone that has lost somebody, you know what I'm saying? Also, with the changes of Hollywood and independent artists, big things, big changes. You're not really going to have that support that you had before. What changes are you going to make later on? DJs like us, artists like Coco, you know what I'm saying? Like Brizz. There's a lot of information that we took from 2020 that we need to move on for 2021. But
that's right.
As we move on, COVID is still here moving into the 2021 where we have to deal with masks, vaccines, layoffs, government money, escalation of violence, streets, domestic violence, child abuse, human trafficking, learning new skills, building stronger family units, lockdowns, small businesses shutting down and having no say for nothing. Right?
That's right.
It's a lot to take in as we break down before we leave. Right? COVID, vaccines, masks. What are we going to do?
Well, we already kind of talked about the masks and vaccines. So why don't we move on to one of those other ones? What about like BLM? Because that's usually a pretty polarized topic, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's so like annoying. yeah, no.
All I'm going to say about BLM is I support what I feel should be represented, which, you know, everybody should be treated the same and racism shouldn't exist. Okay. But the big kicker here is everybody needs to, before they support a movement, you need to visit the website and you need to actually research what they represent. Okay. Because when you go onto the BLM website and you do research, there's no mention of the black man there. It's more talking about strengthening the woman or women, and it's talking about getting rid of the nuclear family. So I just want people to understand, a lot of times people protest for things and they don't know what they're protesting for, or they think it's for something and that's not the full picture. So all I can say, rather than getting into like complete serious detail, is to go and just, again, do your research.
That's it. Education matters.
See, I would add also for the Black Lives Matter, I think it's a bit tricky too, because you kind of have the Black Lives Matter organization.
Yep.
And then you have a movement that's not necessarily like, it's got the same name, but it doesn't have the same like principles or same values as the organization. So I think that's where things get really, really kind of mucky, because there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'm for Black Lives Matter as a movement, but not
the organization.
But not, nothing related to the organization. They're there for the movement. Therefore, like, our lives matter. Stop killing us, and the justice system's messed up. We need reform.
Yeah, what it should be.
But but they're not part of that move. Kind of like you know. So it's kind of like that's not an actual. It's not really they're following that organization.
Yeah.
Kind of like Antifa, right? Antifa is not an actual organization. Really. It's a movement. So you know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, look at the Antifa website. That's not really how that is. So I think the Black Lives Matter is a bit tricky, because you got this two things with the same name, I think, is what the issue is.
Oh, speaking of two things with the same name or same symbol.
Sorry, three words. All right. Three words. Follow the money.
Yes, follow the money is a huge one.
But also,
and if you don't know who George Soros is, research him.
But I think too, like, I don't want to discourage people from following Black Lives Matter as
movement,
an independent movement, like as a loosely kind of like how Antifa is. It's just a kind of there's no leader or anything like that. It's just okay, we're here fighting for a cause. And I think people should differentiate that definitely. Like, so don't think like you should not support people who are out for justice and that sort of stuff.
No, of course
Black
not.
Lives Matter.
Yeah.
But make sure that when you're doing your things, you're differentiating if it's a movement or what. Yeah. So if you're donating money, obviously you're going to look into it because of your money, but, look into, are you donating money to that actual organization? Or, it could be another organization that's just using that same, it could be another, like, equal rights organization, but they're still using the Black Lives Matter name just because it's as the movement name, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Right.
So what's a good thing for everybody to do, and I know this will be touchy for a lot of people, but I'm going to say it. If you go online and you research the Black Lives Matter fist, you're going to see the fist, right? Now, if you go online and you Google the communist symbol, right? It's the exact same fist. So,
I think even the whole movement is going to be like that. I mean, you look at all the civil rights leaders, their whole philosophy was, socialist. You know what I mean?
The reason
Black Panthers, what's the name? Any of them, Malcolm X, all those guys. You know what I mean? They're all socialists. You know what I mean? But they trying to whitewash it to make you think, oh, they were just a good person fight for equal rights, but they were fighting for the same their ideologies were socialist ideologies. You know what I mean?
See, my thing is, if you look, I hear what you're saying. If you look at BLM and it says Black Lives Matter, my question is, what does transgenderism and the LGBTQ community have to do with that? That's my first question. And that doesn't mean that I have anything against the LGBTQ.
Yeah, it's just a staple.
My question, it's a specific, direct question, and I promise you right now, you go and you ask anyone who's trans, well, not anyone, because that's ignorant of me to say, but if you ask some transgender individuals, if you ask some individuals who are part of the LGBTQ community, they're going to get upset, because sometimes when if you ask them, what does transgenderism and the LGBTQ community have to do with Black Lives Matter? Because if you go on the Black Lives Matter website and you read the entire verbiage that's there, you're going to see a lot of talk about transgenderism. You're going to see a lot of talk about the LGBTQ community, but I thought it was Black Lives Matter.
Well,
so if this is about racism,
so are they talking about transgender in general, or are they talking about Black transgender?
No, they're talking about transgenderism. They're talking about Black lives, but they're talking about transgenderism, and they're talking about like, the LGBTQ.
So not just the Black ones,
but
just in general,
no,
right?
just in general. And my thing is, if it's Black Lives Matter, none of that should be in the discussion, period. Yep. Because if this is about racism, let's stick to it. Because the thing that gets on my nerves, and I'm going to keep it real raw right now, the thing that gets on my nerves is I am sick and tired of the fact that racism even exists right now. Yeah. Okay. And in the LGBTQ community, you're given more rights. You're given an inch. You're taking 5 miles. Oh, we want more. We want more. What are you fighting for?
They don't even know.
What are you fighting for? Before anybody even knows you're gay, bisexual, binary, non-binary, transgender, whatever, your skin color shows.
Exactly.
So. And you are judged from the get-go on your skin.
And they have the freedom already. Sorry to cut you.
No, it's okay.
Just quickly, they have the freedom already that they were longing for
so much
for so long.
Unless they're
and
black,
yet black people.
Well,
oh, of course, that's like double the. Of course.
So we could understand why that would be an issue.
Right.
That's why I was asking if it was. If it's
right. No, I get that.
That's why she said it's general, but.
Because if they're talking about just the Black transgender Jays, they have it worse, I think, than
for sure.
Everybody, well, not everybody else.
That is completely true. And you have to also look at the 3 women who run Black Lives Matter. One is transgender, one is a lesbian, and one is bisexual. So I don't like when people come to me about Black Lives Matter. I'm like, can you just miss me with all that? I don't want to hear it. I'm about Black lives, 1000%. Yeah. But I don't want to hear none of that, because all the people who are talking about it, did you even go on the website and read that? Because I did. The first time, and I'll admit it, the first time I went on that website, I started reading and I stopped. You know why? Because there's a lot to read. Second time I went on that website, I read it. And I was pissed. I was so pissed. Why? They never once mentioned the Black man. So when you take the Black man out of the equation, you take the Black man out of the family, what do you have? You don't have that protection in that family anymore. You just don't. So that's a huge issue for me.
Okay.
So I've never read it. Like for me, you know me, I'm for Black Lives Matter, but I'm not. I don't really know about that organization. I'm not the movement. So I'm just curious because I've never looked it up because that's not what my Black Lives Matter following is.
Sure.
Right. So
for sure.
I'm just curious what it is that, like, just kind of a summary. What it is they I guess they stand for, what this is the organization.
They say they stand for.
Sorry, just to let the people know, this is the organization we're talking about now, right?
Yeah, not Black Lives Mattering in general. We're talking about we're talking about the organization. They say that their main mission is equality, but on all fronts.
Okay.
So they specify the transgender community. They
all lives matter. Then kind of, I suppose they probably more what's called more
but if you read it, they don't even talk a lot about race. They talk about transgenderism, and they talk about removing the nuclear family. They even talk negatively about cisgender, which is
they don't talk about like natives.
We're actually on it right now on the Black Lives Matter. So I'll get to where is it right here? We affirm the lives of Black, queer, and trans folk, disabled folk, undocumented folks with records, women, and all Black lives along the gender spectrum. Our network centers those who have been marginalized within Black liberation movements.
Okay, yeah. So
that clears it up.
That sounds kind of like all
Right.
lives.
I was pissed.
Yeah.
Is it Black lives or is this all LGBTQ lives? What does transgender have to do with Black Lives Matter? Aside from the fact that yes, there are black transgender, there are black gay, there are black bisexual.
Exactly.
But this is Black Lives Matter.
So just keep it there.
About Black lives.
Yeah, so just keep it there.
And strengthening the Black families. Why haven't you mentioned the men at all?
I think what they should have had, I think would be more accurate.
Don't
they
get
should have
Coco
just been called All Lives Matter. You know what I mean? Because they're not really
specify?
Yeah, they're not really focused in on just Black people. So it should be called All Lives Matter, or we
might as well.
If you're bringing gender into it.
Or you might as well say support transgender and LGBTQ lives.
Yeah, it's kind of like you have organizations for like First Nations, right? Whereas like you're going to be like, okay, well, they don't mention anything about First Nation. They just talk about Black and Latinos. And you'd be like, that's kind of odd.
So,
for First Nations.
Exactly.
So obviously we could go on forever and ever and ever.
But we're not going to on that.
But we're not going to.
But I was going to add one thing about that.
Yeah.
Your thoughts is, so this is not really about the organization, but
the movement?
Kind of the movement or equal rights.
Okay.
You guys' thoughts on the term or when people say defund the police?
I'm not for it, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, yeah.
I'm about police reform. You defund the police and you get rid of the police, what happens?
Later.
Everybody is going off on their own. No, people aren't being responsible enough in general with the police, whether the police are doing the right thing or the wrong thing. You can defund the police all day, but at the end of the day, what needs to happen is that entire institution needs to crumble. It needs to crumble and it needs to restart. So why do police have to go to school for such little time when you're supposed to be on the streets protecting lives? Why are you not getting? They don't teach them jack.
Teach them the right things.
You don't teach them culture. They should be learning all different cultures. They should be learning. No, they should be learning how to negotiate. They should be learning how to deal with mental health on all levels. They should be learning how to deal with children. They should be learning how to deal with recognizing, okay, if somebody responds this way or they're not responding at all, and maybe they have a disability.
Here's one thing though, I would say is like
ridiculous.
For me, I think maybe teach them some mental health, but I think a lot of those the issues regarding mental health, it shouldn't be an actual police officer that's taking that call. Or if they're going with somebody with
a doctor who's trained.
For example,
or sorry, just one last thing, or a certain part of the police station that is just dedicated solely
for that
to mental health.
I completely agree with that.
So they have some police training, but they're more mental health training. You know what I mean?
Right. So with that example, I've put myself in a position where there was a mental health person that came with a police officer.
Okay.
To a situation.
Okay.
Which I can't disclose, right?
Of course.
But I was there and I wasn't there actually, but I've seen that two police officers came with a mental officer or whatever. And basically, they just didn't come and try to regulate the situation by themselves. They came with a mental health person that's from the health field. So it obviously makes sense to do that. And speaking of that, Brian was saying, he thinks that we're right and the movement should be called All Lives Matter.
Yeah, if that's the case.
Which we could keep going and going, like I said. Plus, we have an issue with just not making the right decisions as human beings anyways.
Yeah, like get it together, guys.
It's like people have their own views, but 2020 is about to end, right?
Yeah.
We're moving on to a new chapter. And I think, before we wrap this up, basically, we got
time, man. We got time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was going to say something about the defund the police thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I was going to say well, number one, it's like that term is so like
defund the police.
Yeah, so not ambiguous, but it's so like, okay, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, from what area?
Were you gonna defund all their money, some of their money? Are you gonna or are you talking about reallocating the money? Like,
right.
Like, when people say defund the police, I'm like, well, what can you be a little bit more specific? What do you
take their money out of their pocket?
Yeah.
Or what?
And a lot of people interpret that term differently too. So some people will say, yeah, I agree with that term, and some will say I don't. But the people who say I agree, the way they see the term is different than the other people. So they may be agreeing on the same thing, but they just they just interpret what defund means, right?
Yeah.
So
I think I know in Toronto, this was a few months back, but I know I was seeing promotional flyers circulating about it was a little more specified where they were saying defund the police like 10% to defund. And there were certain specifications, but again, I mean, we can defund. This is just my opinion, but we can defund the police all day, but they're not being held accountable for things. I also think that if police, let's say a certain police officer is receiving multiple complaints, I feel then that police officer should be sat down with their superior, and that should be reviewed. There should be a review board that goes over things in more with a fine-tooth comb, and those police officers should be reprimanded. And if that means you lose your job, well, so be it, because you don't deserve to be on the front lines, supposed to be protecting people and serving, and you're the one doing the damage.
And also, when they lose their job too, like in the States, a lot of time they lose a job, and then they just end up getting another job at another department.
Yeah, lose your license to be an officer, period.
It's not even like they're getting another job like in like 3 states over. It's like 2 counties over.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They're getting a job again. And it's like, but
it's ridiculous.
If I messed up at my job and I got fired for, say I was an accountant and I was stealing money.
Oh yeah,
if I went to another accountant's office or anything in financial, you think they're gonna be like, okay, well he was at a different one, but yeah, we'll hire him over here. You know what I mean?
But you know what? We tend to forget one thing that I think you brought up already though a little bit. Yeah. That police officers are still human.
Yes.
And they still have mental health.
Yes.
Like that's
they make mistakes
that's
too.
A huge thing too, where why did the police officer even become a police officer? Because of that mental health sometimes. Like it's so much different areas and gray areas that kind of makes it feel like, yo, if this police officer seen his mother be beaten all his life, or women that he knows that have been beaten, he's wanting to be a police officer at a young age because he's seen that to protect that.
Right. But he might go overboard.
It might go overboard because of his mental health.
Like people who are bullied, right? Some people that are bullied,
right? Yeah, they become cops.
They become cops, but then they're doing it not to protect other people.
They're doing it to become the bully.
Yeah, and eventually kind of revenge against other people that seem bullyish,
exactly.
Right?
So Brian was saying as well, he was like, they need to stop investigating themselves.
Bam, bam, bam. Yeah, exactly. Ring that bell. That's an amazing point. Yeah. And they should receive regular training. So, you know, when any job that you're at, when things change within the business, there's training workshops that go on. There's things like my mom used to work for WSIB. Okay. She actually still does contract work for them. Every few months, they had something new that they had to learn. And so they had regular training workshops.
It never stopped.
Police should have that, and they should all be mandatory. You don't make that session, you're not going to work.
Exactly,
you're not getting paid.
It's like doctors always have to retrain and learn new stuff,
because
you're supposed to be on the streets keeping us safe.
Or even it's just like even just to keep make sure they remember this stuff, right? It's kind of like it's like keeping in shape, kind of like you're gonna let your all your officers get super fat and stuff. No, they got to keep training, so they're
they do.
Shape,
they
right?
do.
Some of them are.
They do, but that's a great point.
Issue, though, you know?
That's a great point because
it's like they learn it once and then they let it go,
right? Because the training, that's a good issue. Good point, because of the training will cause you to stay healthy.
Yes.
Then you won't get too much donuts in your gut to feel like you gotta shoot instead of chase them down.
Well, that's it,
right?
Well,
and then also the training. I was gonna get to that. So also the training causes you to remember that you have to be on your P's and Q's.
Yes.
You can't just be a cop and do what you want.
Exactly.